Dobrý den, vítejte u dalšího videa. Welcome to my next video, which is going to be focused on the words další and příští. You will find out what's the difference between these two adjectives, další, příští. Since we can translate both these words as next, it can be pretty confusing when to use další or when to use příští. So let's get to it. Jdeme na to. Ahoj, vítejte na mém kanále Czech by Zuzka, kde vám pomocí angličtiny vysvětluju českou gramatiku. Although in this video we're going to discuss only two pretty short words, I'm going to give you plenty of examples so that you can understand the difference. But don't worry, we will start with the easy ones. With short sentences, you can expect the more complex sentences. First, let's take a look at how to translate the word další. Další means another when we talk about a single thing. Also, it could be other, some other when it's plural. It could also mean additional, next in sequence, or further. So this would be the common translations. And here's the important thing to keep in mind, next in sequence. Imagine you have to take certain steps or a certain procedure. So you have step 1, step 2 and step 3. For example, step 1, první krok, krok 1, the first step. And the next in the sequence is naturally druhý krok. Instead of steps, you could have people that are queuing. You could think about a schedule, buses, trains, etc. Let's take a look at some examples so you get a good idea. Další, prosím, is what you can hear when you are at the doctor, for example, or simply standing in a line at the market, for example, Christmas market. Vánoční trhy. You're waiting for your drink, your trdelník, whatever. Další, prosím, means next, please. Who's next in line? Další, prosím. So remember the next in sequence. Další, prosím, next, please. Mám další otázku. Mám další otázku. I have another question. Imagine you have 2 questions or 3 questions in mind you want to ask. You ask the first one, and now it's time for your second question, your next question. Mám další otázku. Instead of další, we could also say ještě jednu otázku. Další and ještě jednu or ještě jedna, depending on the context, can be replaced. Sometimes it's exactly the same. We use ještě jednu, especially when we interact with people. However, there is a small difference. Mám další otázku means I might have more than 2 questions. I have several questions. Here's another one. Mám další otázku. But if you say mám ještě jednu otázku, you are indicating that there is just one more question. So ještě jednu is +1. And it should mean that there is nothing else after. Další otázku is simply next in sequence. Who knows how many more there will be. Tak, další. Okay, next. Další věta. Next sentence. Jaké jsou další kroky? What are the next steps? Jaké jsou další kroky? You can even notice here we're mentioning steps because we could have 3 of them, we could have 10 of them. Kdy jede další autobus do Liberce? When is the next bus to Liberec, the town of Liberec? Or when does the next bus to Liberec leave? It could be that we just missed our bus and we're asking when's the next one? It could also be that you're choosing what time you want to go to Liberec and then you find out 1 p.m. is too early, so when is the next one? Další věta. Neustále se staví další a další budovy. More and more buildings are constantly being built. Neustále, constantly. Další a další budovy. This is a really good phrase to remember. Další a další. More and more. In this context. Neustále se staví další a další budovy. Let's see more examples. Tady jsou další věty, další příklady. Usmívám se na dalšího nevrlého souseda. I smile at the next grumpy neighbor. Na dalšího nevrlého souseda. Here you can see it in a different case. It doesn't only have to be další. We have different forms, as you can see here in this chart. And there is an interesting word, neverly. Neverly is grumpy, in a bad mood. Imagine you're going for a walk and you're passing the houses or the buildings where people you know live, your neighbors, and you see one grumpy neighbor, you smile, and you see another grumpy neighbor, you smile. Další nevrlý soused. Usmívám se na dalšího nevrlého souseda. Přišel mi pomoct Matěj a dalších pár kamarádů. Matěj and a few other friends came to help me. A dalších pár kamarádů. Dalších několik is also a really good phrase, really good collocation. Přišel mi pomoct Matěj a dalších pár kamarádů. Po několika dalších minutách ticha Milada konečně promluvila. After a few minutes of silence, Milada finally spoke. Po několika dalších minutách ticha Milada konečně promluvila. Po několika dalších. Here is another similar expression. Několik dalších, or in this case, po několika dalších minutách. After a few more minutes of silence. This sentence is a little bit more complex, a little bit longer, very useful nevertheless. It's also common to have a certain number, for example, and then the word další in a specific form. 30 dalších lidí. 30 more people. If you want to know what case this is, this would be accusative. Usmívám se na dalšího nevrlého souseda. Přišel mi pomoct Matěj a dalších pár kamarádů. This is genitive because of the word pár. Pár always needs the genitive case around it. Except when there are certain prepositions. This is a genitive here. Dalších pár kamarádů. Po několika dalších minutách ticha. This is the locative case because of the preposition po. Po několika dalších minutách. Remember that the adjective další means another or more or next in sequence. Now it's time for the word příští. Příští, a little bit tricky to pronounce. Příští is translated as next or the following or the coming event, for example. Here is something really important to keep in mind. The adjective příští is something that refers to the future events and it's tied to time. And also something interesting to note. Příští is not as common as the word další. Just look at these numbers. Další is much more common. Let's take a look at the examples. Příští stanice Křižíkova. This is something that you can hear on the Prague metro. They would say next station Křižíkova. The next station is Křižíkova. You cannot change the order. It's inevitable that the next station is Křižíkova because it's at that specific time. Příští stanice. And it's also something that will happen. You haven't passed through Křižíkova on this specific train yet. So remember, příští is related to time and it refers to the future. Something will happen, something will come in the future. It could be within 1 minute, but it's still the future. Příští zastávka Mladá Boleslav. This is something that you can hear on a train, on a local train. Příští zastávka. Next stop Mladá Boleslav. Příští zastávka Mladá Boleslav. Příští týden máme zavřeno. Next week we're closed. We mean the week that's coming. You cannot say that the week that will happen after sometime in the future. It's specifically the week that's coming. The week after this one. Příští týden. Uvidíme se příští středu. We'll see each other next Wednesday. And that means the Wednesday that's coming. The coming Wednesday next week. Příští středu, příští týden. Here's also something interesting. Středu, as you can see, it's in a different form. That's the accusative case. Often when you talk about time, that something will happen next Wednesday or it happens every Wednesday. That form is in the accusative case, except here we wouldn't know that because that form stays the same for the accusative case. Uvidíme se příští středu. Kdy bude příští setkání? When will the next meeting or the next gathering be? Kdy bude příští setkání? Příští setkání, we mean the one that will happen, the one that we're going to plan. The coming, if you can replace the word next by coming and it makes sense, then you use the word příští. The coming stop, the coming stop, the coming week, the coming Wednesday and the coming meeting. More examples with the word příští. Dám ti vědět začátkem příštího měsíce. I'll let you know at the beginning of next month. Začátkem příštího měsíce. Dám ti vědět, I'll let you know, this is something I explained 2 weeks ago, I think. Začátkem příštího měsíce. Začátkem, sometime at the beginning of next month. Příští měsíc, this is the month that's coming. For example, now it's December, prosinec. Příští měsíc, leden, January. Několik příštích týdnů to bude makačka. The next few weeks will be tough. The next few weeks will be tough. Makačka is a slang word for tough, like for hard work. Makačka. Je to makačka, this is hard work, it's tough. Několik příštích týdnů. The next few weeks. And we mean, again, the coming weeks, the weeks that will come. Během příštích 30 let počet vzroste. Over the next 30 years, the number will increase. Over the next 30 years. Během příštích 30 let počet vzroste. We mean the coming 30 years. And I left this interesting and kind of entertaining phrase at the end. You can apply it in many situations. Možná v příštím životě, maybe in the next life. If someone suggests something crazy, you can say, možná v příštím životě, maybe in the next life. V příštím životě, the life that's coming after this. So remember, příští is something that we use for the future events, something that's upcoming. Are you still with me? This has been quite a lot of information, I know. Just learn those phrases that you can hear in everyday life, that you think you can use, and it will come to you. Everything seems challenging at the beginning, and with practice, over time, it will sink in, and everything will become clearer. So sometimes příští and další are pretty much the same. And sometimes it depends on the context. Let's take a look. Kdy bude další setkání? Kdy bude příští setkání? Both sentences mean when will the next meeting be? Just like we saw in the first part of the video. I could say they are pretty interchangeable. There is a very subtle difference. Kdy bude příští setkání means when is the coming meeting? Is it going to be in 1 month? Další setkání doesn't emphasize that's the one that's coming right after. And we can also refer to the subsequent meeting, the one that will be sometime in the future, not necessarily the very next one. So practically it's the same. But here it's a little bit different. Tak co příští středu? Or tak co tu další středu? Here it would sound better to add tu další středu. Tak co příští středu means, so what about next Wednesday? The one that's coming. Tak co tu další středu? So what about the following Wednesday? I'll give you a specific example. You're agreeing on a meeting. Tak co příští středu? In this case, příští středa would be the 25th of December. 25. prosince. To by nešlo. That wouldn't work. Tak co tu další středu? Další středu would be the following Wednesday. The Wednesday after that, which would be the 1st of January. 1. ledna. To taky nefunguje. Tak co tu další středu? 8. ledna. 8th of January. To by šlo. I think it's easy to understand the difference here. And here is one more example. V dalším díle nebo v příštím díle. V dalším díle means in the next episode. V příštím díle means also in the next episode, but it's in the coming episode, the one that's going to be released. It's probably not released yet. The episode to come. V příštím díle. I could say, moje příští video bude na téma vánoční písnička. My next video, the video to come, which I haven't even recorded yet, will be about a Christmas song. So after that you would usually use the future tense. V příštím díle se podíváme. In the next episode we will watch. V příštím díle budeme mluvit. In the next episode we will talk about. By the way, in this video I mentioned some common words such as týden, měsíc, minuta, počet. You can practice these words and 96 other words in my new ebook, The 100 Most Frequent Nouns and Their Uses. Here you can see them. Rok, člověk, den, doba, dítě, etc., etc. Počet is right here. Hodina, minuta, etc. Let's say you would like to practice the word hodina, and you can see different forms. You can see it in examples as well. And you can also practice these words in many interesting exercises. So you can take a look at this ebook, The 100 Most Frequent Czech Nouns and Their Uses. And I would also like to remind you that my Christmas store is still open until December 24th. You can enjoy some really good deals on ebooks. All these ebooks are 40% off. All my video courses are 50% off. In this Christmas store, you will find the most generous deals of the year on my material. Now it's time to do our exercise. Take a look at these 6 sentences and choose the correct form. Is it going to be další or příští? Pause the video so you can do this on your own. And now I'm going to reveal the correct answers. Číslo 1. Kdo je další? Kdo je další? Who's next? Next in sequence. Číslo 2. Příští rok to bude lepší. Příští rok to bude lepší. Next year, the coming year, it will be better. Další rok to bude lepší would mean the year after that. Číslo 3. O dalších důvodech už se nezmínil. He didn't mention any further reasons. Číslo 4. Čekáme na další pokyny. We're waiting for further instructions. Imagine the list. We have the list of things and we're waiting for further instructions. Další pokyny. Číslo 5. Na co se můžete těšit v příštím roce? What can you look forward to next year? Meaning the coming year, 2025. 2025. Číslo 6. Podíváme se na další díl seriálu. Shall we watch the next episode of the series? In real life we would probably just leave out seriálu. We would just say další díl. Podíváme se na další díl. Here we're suggesting shall we watch it now because it's available. So we could say na další díl. Na příští díl would indicate that the episode is not available yet. In this question it would sound a little weird. Maybe if you ask, kde se budeme dívat na příští díl? Where are we gonna watch the coming episode? Tak, to je ode mě všechno. I warned you. It was only about 2 little words and it's full of information. You can rewatch this video as many times as you want and make some notes. Pick a few sentences that you think that would be useful for you and learn them. After all, many of these examples that I showed you are easy to hear anywhere around you. Příští zastávka. Další, prosím. Tak se mějte a děkuju, že jste se dívali. Čau.